Hi everyone. In this lecture, we will look at different types of data types. Let us start by creating a function and we will call it our constant example. And here we want to say that our constant x is equal to 30. I'm sure all of you can guess what this will do. So there are two ways of displaying this. We can say console.log x and the other way is logger.log x. Let us run this. Let me run it once again. This might happen a few times that it will ask you for verification. Just make sure to do that. All right. Now we can see here that console.log gives us x and logger, if I change this to a capital L, will also give us the same result. There is a small difference where logger.log gives us 30.0. Now let us see what will happen if I try to change the value of x. So we say that x is equal to 50 and we say console.log of x. Now you would notice that it says that we cannot see the result because x has been defined as a constant. It would not be possible for us to do an assignment on it. Since it is a constant variable, the value cannot be reassigned and the value cannot be changed. So I'm just going to write here, value cannot be changed. Now let's create another block. And in this, I will write console log of x. And then we say constant y is equal to 10. And we say console.log y. Let us run this. Again, you notice that. Let me in fact comment this so you can see this clearly. And let me comment this aspect. Okay, as you can see, it tells us that we have 30 and 10. 30 is the constant for x and 10 is the constant for y. But you have to keep in mind that if I come outside this block and then we say console.log of y and we run this, this time it gives us an error saying that y has not been defined. And I'm sure all of you can see why that is happening. If you look at this, it is outside this block. That is why if you look at the block prior to this, there was no y that was defined. And that's the reason this is resulting in an error for you because y has not been defined. So we'll just write here that y has not been defined. Let us now look at how we can use let. We will start with a function, and let's call this let example. And I want to say that, let me just make some space as well so you can see this clearly. So we say that let y is equal to 100, and then console dot log of y. As you would expect when we do this, in fact, let me again comment everything else so that there is no confusion. All right, let's run this. Now, you might notice that this does not work. The reason is that we have two blocks that we have created. One block is my first function. The second block is my let example function. So you have to make sure to click here and select let example. When we run this, you notice it gives us 100. But how is this different from a constant? The difference, everyone, is that this can be reassigned. Let me explain that. If I say that y is equal to 500 and then we use console log of y and run this, you can see that it gives us both 100 and 500 since the value can be reassigned. But it cannot be redeclared. If you once again try to say that let y is equal to 300 and console log y, this time you will see that. Let me run it again. You can see that it says identify y has already been declared in line 38, right? And that's why this line 38 is going to give you an error since it has already been declared before this. So just keep that in mind. Let me comment this as well. Now let's create another block, and this is called the block scoping. We want to once again declare, let's say w, which is equal to 999, and we say console log w, and we run this, and it gives us 999. So far, so good. But the moment we come outside this block, and I say console log of w, you can see that as it happened earlier, it will give us an error saying w has not been defined. And the reason for that is this is our main block, right? And this is the sub block that we have created. And w has not been defined anywhere in our main block. Excellent. Now let's come to our var example. We will start by writing function var example, and we say that x is equal to 1, console log of x. Let's change the function to, let me first save it and change the function to our var example. So let me run it. Why is it not showing here? Okay, got it. We have to make sure that my let example has been closed. So we want to put a curly bracket here. Yeah, this should work now. So let me once again save it. Line 74, there's a token error. Hold on. Everything seems okay. Let's see now. We want to save it once again. And now we should get var example. Especially if you have very recently started to work with coding, these issues happen all the time. You forget to put a curly bracket or you put an extra one. So never worry when it happens. It's very easy to be very tough on ourselves and feel that we made a huge mistake, but in all likelihood, it must be a small mistake somewhere. As you can see, I want to select my var example. Let's run this. And we can see that the value is 1 for x. Can it be reassigned? Absolutely. So can be reassigned. And if we say that x is equal to 20, and then console.log of x, and we run it, it gives us 1 and 20 now. Let's create another block. In this, we will write that, let's say there's a new variable, which is 111. If I try to run this outside this block, console.log new variable, as you would expect, it works. But hold on. If you go to let, it did not work. Remember, we had called it let w is equal to 999, and when we ran it outside the block, so this is our block, it did not run. But then how is it running this time? Because if our block is this and I'm running it here, how is it working? And this is what the difference between a let and var is. Let allows you to run it within the block scoping, but when you're doing it with a var, you can see that the scope is in the function. That means that var has a function scope. What that means is that my function is here. So even if I'm creating a var of 111, which is inside a sub block, it will still be accessible since it is a part of the function. So this is a very important concept, and this is the difference between let and var. The last thing I want to show you is the concept of a global variable. As you would expect, the global variable would be defined right at the top before any of the functions start. Let us say that my sheet name, the convention is to use all caps for the global variable. And we can say this is sheet 1. And as you can see, now if we come at the bottom and we say that we want to access our global variable of sheet name, and we run this, oh, we did not close the line. Just a moment. Let me run it again. You can see that we are able to get the sheet 1 name, and this is accessible to any function that we have. So this is very handy, and for larger complex projects, creating global variables can either save you a lot of time, or in certain cases it is a must if you want the same constant to be available across different functions.